Hirup sauyunan tara pahiri-hiri pasti ngahariji kajen di mana-mana. Negara Indonesia katelah Nusantara, rakyatna saruka lamun negarana maju. Manuk dadali manuk panggagahna berlambang sakti Indonesia jaya. Manuk dadali ngorbankeun ragana keur Damar kurila damar darurat ale bute. Damar kurila damar darurat ale bute. Sutai kon sau de tahu ale bute. Musutai kon sau de tahu ale bute.
Hello.
Hello everyone, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the summer course day 2 by Faculty of Humanities di Diponegoro University. First of all, my name is Ilham and today I'm your MC. And could you please open your camera so we can see each other face? I would like to greet all the participants from Pakistan, from India, Philippines, Korea, Egypt, Russia, Madagascar, Vietnam, and many other country. Please open your camera. Selamat sore, apa kabar? Good afternoon. How are you? Before we jump to the main event, I would like to tell you our rundown. And today we are going to learn about traditional games and learning and teaching. And here we have a Q&A session too in the after our speakers share her materials. And also I want to remind you about the rules, about the summer course rules. The first one is please change your background with summer course virtual background that already shared in the group. So please change your display name with name and origin. For example, Punti_Indonesia. And participants must dress politely and behave during the course. And all the participants have to turn off the loudspeaker or microphone during the session, except you are invited to speak by the host or moderator. And all the participants have to fill attendance form that will be shared in the chat Zoom in the end after the discussion session is finished. And the last is you can ask question in the chat box, and or you can raise your hand. And as I said before, that today we are going to learn about Indonesia, about traditional games and teaching. And our speaker today is Ma'am Lân from Vietnam. She's already here with us. And our discussion today will be guided by our moderator, Abdiansyah Jamin. Abdiansyah, could you please say hello to us?
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
We are happy to welcome you here in the 2023 summer course. There are so many countries coming here from Pakistan, India, Vietnam, Russia, and from Egypt as well, South Korea, Uganda. Wow, this is the real international event. To be honest, a little bit nervous here because this is my first international event. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And we will listen about the material from Miss Lân from Vietnam. Miss Lân is our speaker today, and I had a little sneak peek about her materials. Oh, it's fun, the materials. And before that, I will let you know who is Miss Lân. Miss Lân has a full name of Nguyen Thi Pong Lan. Miss Nguyen Thi Pong Lan. I'm sorry, Miss. I didn't know how to spell her name correctly. This is my first time spelling the Vietnamese name. She's a Master of Art, and her disciplinary is Indonesian language, the political history, and international relations of Indonesia. And her activity focus is research and conducting conference papers, seminars, and students' research projects. She is the lecturer for Faculty of Oriental Studies in Vietnam National University Ho Chi Minh City, and her publication was Bahasa Vietnam, Bahasa Sahabatku in 2018 in collaboration with Wati Istanti, and her activities as a lecturer. The three major activities are Vietnam-Indonesia Seminar, 60 years of cooperation and the development towards the Asian Community 2015, Conference on Islamic Community and Cultural Identity of Southeast Asian 2017, and Asian Values in the Process of Integration and Development 2019. Okay, before we are going to the main event, I had a little sneak about the material here that Miss Lân are presenting about the traditional games, the comparison between Indonesian and Vietnamese traditional games. I have a wide knowledge and the new knowledge here that Miss Lân wrote here that Mancala, the Mandarin square capturing, has a similar play games as Congklak in Indonesian and O An Quan in Vietnam. Wow, this is very interesting. It's a new knowledge for us. Okay, Miss Lân, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, welcome. How are you?
I'm good.
I was heard that you are able to speak Indonesian very well. Bisa bahasa Indonesia?
Ya, bisa.
Wow. Okay. But most of the participants here are expecting us to speak in English, so everyone could understand what you are going to tell. And now we will give you the place to present your materials, and after that we are going to do the question and answer events, and then some quiz at the end of the events. Okay, Miss Lan, the place is yours.
Okay, I get it. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nguyễn Thị Phương Linh, or you can simply call me Linh or Lenny. And currently, I am a lecturer at the Faculty of Oriental Studies, University of Social Sciences and Humanities, Vietnam National University in Ho Chi Minh City. And today, I'm really honored to be a speaker of this summer course. And interestingly, 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to study at Undip for a year. So yeah, therefore on these special occasions, I also would like to express my gratitude and appreciation to the Undip teachers, especially at the Fakultas Ilmu Budaya, for their dedication and kindness. Okay, so wait, I will share my slide first. Well, in today's modern world, many traditional games have been forgotten and replaced by digital games like PlayStation or computer, and the preference for the modern games over traditional games indirectly diminishes the opportunity for the social interaction and teamwork that were once fostered through the traditional games. So the traditional game not only provided the entertainment, but also play a significant role in showcasing the unique cultures and values of specific regions or country. Therefore, today's my presentation will exploring the traditional games in Vietnam and Indonesia, the two Southeast Asian countries renowned for their diverse and vibrant cultures. Okay, so to begin my presentation, I have a small game for you guys, but I think the moderator already named the name. Okay, now I have a small game for you guys. So if you have the correct answer more quickly, I will have a souvenir for you guys. If you are in Indonesian currently, I will give you this souvenir from Vietnam, because next month my student will go to Undip for a year. So I will request she to give you the souvenir. So if you know the answer, you know the name of these traditional games, please raise your hand. Okay. You can name it by your own language. Do you know the name of this game? Trong Clack Ita. From Vietnam, do you know the name of this game? Yeah, right. Its name is Trong Clack, or in Vietnam, we call it Ô Ăn Quan. And I will analyze it at the after Trong Clack, right? Okay, so ETA, right? Dakon is the name of Java, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. And okay, so this game, I think this game is more difficult. Do you know the name of this game? this game is I think this game is popular, very popular in Vietnam, but Indonesia, I think some people forget this game, because I already asked some Indonesian, and many people don't know the name of this game. So this Indonesian is called Ching Chiripit. Okay, so I will compare the two games in the next part. Okay, thank you for your cooperation, and I will send. Okay, I could send the souvenir for Ita, right? Sorry if I pronounce wrongly your names. Okay, so my presentation have three parts. Firstly, I will provide the origin and characteristic of traditional games. And secondly, I will talk about the historical and cultural background of Indonesian and Vietnamese traditional game. And finally, I will compare some Vietnamese and Indonesian traditional games. The first one is the origin characteristic of traditional games. Well, you know, many traditional games have roots traced back to ancient civilizations and prehistoric times when there is no written records. So this is difficult to determine their exact origins. And some traditional games evolve from cultural practices, rituals, and religious significance. For instance, in agrarian society, games were linked to farmers or planting or harvesting during agricultural festival, which reflect the importance of agriculture in their life. And traditional games often emerge as a way for people to interact and bond with one another. They serve as a means for fostering teamwork, communication, or cooperation among individuals within a community. And many traditional games simulate real-life activity like hunting, fishing, or warfare. And the next is characteristic of traditional game. And of course, one of the important characteristics of traditional game is simplicity. Traditional games tend to have simple rules and equipment, making them accessible to people of all ages and backgrounds. And the rules of techniques of traditional games often passed down through the oral tradition from one generation to another. And traditional games often exhibit regional variations and adaptations, reflecting the diversity of community and their distinct cultural influences. And usually, these variations are spread through the cultural exchange, migration, or trade. And many traditional games involve physical movement and mental stimulation, promoting an active and healthy lifestyle. And of course, the primary purpose of traditional games is often to provide enjoyment for participants. And traditional games play a significant role in preserving a society's cultural identity and passing down its value and custom to the future generation. And now I will talk about a historical and cultural background of Indonesian and Vietnam traditional game. The first one is Indonesian. Well, you know, Indonesia is the country, is a world archipelago comprising over 17,000 islands, and each island and regions had its own unique culture, languages, and custom. And the diversity of Indonesia's cultural landscape is mirrored in the wide variety of traditional games found through the country. And the influence of Hindu and Buddhist. Before the spread of Islam in Indonesia, the archipelago was home to several powerful Hindu and Buddhist kingdoms like Sriwijaya, Majapahit. Therefore, there are elements of Hindu and Buddhist culture in traditional games. And in the 13th century, Islam arrived in Indonesia, and it gradually became the predominant religion in Indonesia. Therefore, Islamic values of community cooperation were often reflected in traditional games, which serve as a social activity and promote unity within the community. And the next is the influence of colonial era. When Indonesia was colonized by various European powers, including the Portuguese, the Dutch, British, and they introduced some Western games to the local people. And the next is the agricultural lifestyle. Well, the majority of Indonesians have historically been farmers, fishermen, and craftsmen. So many traditional games are inspired by agricultural activities, reflecting the close connection between the people and the land. And the next is the trade and interaction. Well, Indonesia has been a crossroad of trade and cultural exchange for centuries due to its strategic location along major maritime trade routes. And interaction with the traders from neighboring regions like India, China, and the Middle East and other Southeast Asian countries have led to the cultural exchange and assimilation of traditional games in Indonesia. And the next is the historical and cultural background of Vietnamese traditional game. Like Indonesia, Vietnam also has a long been of agrarian society, and many traditional games are influenced by the country's agricultural practices. And games often revolve around the theme of farming, fishing, and rural life. And the next is the influence of ancestral belief and animism. Many traditional games have been rooted in ancestral belief and animism, which involve the spiritual connection with the nature, ancestral, and mythical being. Therefore, some traditional games have ritualistic elements and symbolic significance tied to agricultural practices. And the next is influence of Confucianism and Taoism. Confucianism and Taoism had a profound influence on Vietnam culture. Therefore, traditional games often emphasize the value of Confucianism and Taoism, such as respect for the elders and maintain a harmony within the community. And Buddhism had also played a significant role in shaping Vietnamese culture. Many traditional games have connections to the Buddhist practices and festivals, reflecting the theme of compassion and spiritual devotion. And yeah, Vietnam has a long history of cultural exchange with China, leading to the adoption and adaptations of various Chinese games and customs. And some traditional games have Chinese origin, but they all localized over time. And during the French colonial period, the French brought Western games to Vietnam. Therefore, some traditional games in Vietnam have elements of Western games. So now I will compare 3 traditional games in Indonesia and Vietnam. The first one is I will compare the Chong Lắc with the Ô Ăn Quan in Vietnam, or in English, it's called Mandala or Mandarin Square Catering. And the second one, I can't see the English names, but in Indonesia, they call it Chinh Chiripit, or in Vietnam, Chi Chi Chan Chan. And the third traditional game is Go Bắt So Bor Dan Chơi Keo in Vietnam. Okay, so now I will talk about the first traditional game, Manchala or Mandarin Square catering. The Manchala was originated from the Middle East, then it developed in Africa. Firstly, it was named Manchala in Middle East, but then when it developed in Africa, it was named Awala. And in Indonesia, Manchala has the name Trong Cluck, while in Vietnam, we call it O Ăn Quan. So Trong Cluck were brought by European and O Ăn Quan were brought by the French when they come to Vietnam. So due to the regional variations and adaptations, the game rules of the Trong Cluck and O Ăn Quan has some differences. So to play Trong Cluck, we need 68 small shells, 6 or stone, and a bow. While in O Ăn Quan, we need minimum 52 stone and a bow and a chalk. The number of players in Trong Cluck is 2 players, while the number of players in O Ăn Quan can be more than 2 players. So to play the Trong Cluck, we need a board made by wood or plastic, like the picture. And the board has 7 pairs of small holes with 7/6 holes, and the 14 holes is called rice fields, and 2 big holes are called storehouse. This game is used for farmers to calculate the seasons, know when to plant and harvest, as well as predict the future. So the O Ăn Quan is derived from the game Awala in Africa. Actually, the name of O Ăn Quan is the O Ăn Quan is taken from the pronounce of Awala, because when the French come to Vietnam and they want to transmit this game to the local people, they found that the Awala is pronounced aloud like O Ăn Quan. So the French named this game O Ăn Quan. So to play O Ăn Quan, we also need a board, but different in Indonesia, different from Indonesia. In Vietnam, we usually use a chalk to draw a ball in a yard or a area like this. And this is the board for 2 players. And there are 10 holes. There are 10 small holes called citizen square with 5 stones each hole. You see, different. And there are 2 big holes called Mandarin Square. And in the Mandarin Square, there is a big stone. There is 1 big stone. So the Mandarin here doesn't mean the Chinese, because sometimes we heard the Mandarin, we think about the Chinese, but Mandarin here means the how to say, the powerful official of high rank. And this is the playing board for 3 people, for 3 players, and this is the playing board for 4 players. So in Vietnam, this game symbolizes a resistance against the feudal officials, taking from the officers and to give the poor. So so let's see how to play the Trong Cluck. Because this video has English, so you can see it. I will not translate.
Pertama-tama, isi tiap lubang-lubang kecil tersebut milik lawan dengan 7 biji. Lubang besar atau rumah milik dan milik lawan dibiarkan kosong. Untuk memenangkan permainan ini, kita harus mengumpulkan biji sebanyak-banyaknya di rumah sendiri. Ayo kita mulai. Tentukan siapa yang mulai lebih dahulu dengan cara sulit. Mulai dengan mengambil semua biji dari salah satu lubang milik kita. Dengan gerakan sarang jarum jam, isi tiap lubang dengan 1 biji. Ingat, jangan isi lubang milik lawan. Apabila biji terakhir jatuh di lubang yang ada biji, maka ambil semua bijinya dan lanjut mengisi lubang-lubang yang lain. Jika biji terakhir jatuh di lubang milikmu yang kosong dan lubang milik lawan di hadapannya terdapat biji, maka ambil semua biji di 2 lubang tersebut dan masukkan ke rumah kamu. Sekarang, waktunya giliran si lawan. Sama seperti tadi, ambil semua biji dari salah satu lubang dan isi tiap lubang yang lain. Kalau biji terakhir jatuh di rumah kamu, maka kamu bisa ambil biji dari lubang lainnya, lalu lanjut kembali. Apabila biji terakhir jatuh di lubang yang kosong, maka giliranmu berakhir, dan sekarang ganti giliran si lawan. Lalu lanjut kembali dengan cara yang sama. Permainan selesai apabila sudah tidak ada biji lagi di lubang-lubang kecil. Hitung semua biji dari masing-masing lubang.
Okay, so to calculate the number scoring, the scoring of chocolate is 1.86. Okay, so you remember. So now I will compare to the ô ăn quan in Vietnam. So in chocolate, there is no stone or seeds in the big house. But in Vietnam, there is one stone in the big house. Okay, so now I will show you because the way to play this game is different from the chocolate. So please pay attention.
Vậy là 5 viên. Luật chơi.
Okay, so firstly,
người
player
chơi
play
tới
rock,
lượt của
paper,
mình
scissors
sẽ
to
tuyển
determine
chọn
the
một
first
trong năm
player.
hạt dân của mình để bắt đầu.
And the first player
Mỗi
pick
ô
up
rải
all
một
stone of
dân.
any square per side of ball, and then
Khi
distribute
rải hết
one
sỏi mà ô
stone
kế
for
tiếp
each
còn
square.
sỏi thì ta tiếp tục đi với tất cả các sỏi của ô đó. Nếu ô kế tiếp trống thì
When
ta
all
sẽ
stand
ăn
at
ô phía sau đó nữa. Tiếp tục, mình ăn xong rồi sẽ đến lượt đối phương đi. Nếu viên sỏi cuối cùng kết thúc mà liền sau đó là 2 ô trống hoặc là ô quang thì người chơi sẽ mất lượt, quyền đi thuộc về đối phương.
If your net distribution turn are two empty square or Mandarin square, you will lose your turn.
Cuộc chơi chỉ kết thúc khi mà toàn bộ dân và quang ở 2 ô quang hình bán nguyệt bị ăn hết. Trường hợp 2 ô quang vẫn còn thì cuộc chơi vẫn tiếp tục.
The game ends when all stone are captured and both Mandarin stone are
Bởi vì
captured.
một ô quang vẫn còn nên cuộc chơi vẫn tiếp tục. Mình có thể ăn liền kề 2 ô nếu
When
mà
the square next to the one square is
nhau.
empty, the player also win all the stone in the square after that.
Trường hợp này trong ô quang vẫn còn dân, cho nên là trò chơi vẫn tiếp tục.
Because in the Mandarin square still have the citizens, so the game still continue.
Nếu như mà toàn bộ 5 ô của mình đều trắng hết thì mình phải bắt buộc lấy quân ra để rải.
If your board side there is no any stone. You have to distribute your own stone.
Đây là trường hợp ăn liên hoàn. Các ô trống đều cách nhau, mình có thể ăn liên tục. Sau khi cuộc chơi kết thúc thì ta sẽ bắt đầu tính số điểm. Quân sẽ là mỗi ô vậy là 5 viên.
Okay, so when the game ends, whichever player has more stone is the winner. So one measuring stone equal to 10 points, while one season stone equal to 1 point. So the scoring is also different. Okay, so as we see, there are some differences in game rules between the Chong Cluck and Owen Quan, even though it had a similar origin. And now I will talk about the advantage of playing Manchala or Chong Cluck and Owen Quan. The first one is this game requires strategic thinking and planning. So player must analyze the game board, anticipate the opponent move, and make decisions to maximize their gains. So this game have enhanced critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making skills. And the next is mathematical skills. The game involves in counting, calculating the number of seats in each hole. The player needs to perform mental math to determine the best move. So this game will improve mathematical abilities. And the next is patience and concentration. This is a slow play game that demands patience and concentrations. Player need to remain focused through the game, which can improve attention span and concentration ability. And finally, is social interaction. This game is often played in social setting, encouraging face-to-face interaction and communication. It fosters social skills such as turn tracking and cooperation. So now I will talk about the traditional game Chi Chi Chan Chan or Ching Chi Repeat. Well, until now, there are any records about the origin of traditional game of this traditional game. I just know in Vietnam, traditional games was originated from the northern Vietnam Delta, and Indonesia, the Ching Chi Repeat was supposed to originated from the West Java. And this traditional game of two countries does not use any equipment, but a song. And this is a song of Chi Chi Chan Chan. And this is the song of Ching Chi Repeat. I will analyze the meaning of the song at the next part. And the game rules of this game is the same in the both country. This game is played by more than 2 players. And the game starts with a person open his hand widely. Everyone will sing along a rhyme and put their finger on that person's hand. And when the rhyme ends, the person closes their hand and everyone else must pull their back hands. If not, they might be caught and lose. So you can see this video to have a clear understanding of this game.
Chi chi chành chành, cái đánh thổi lửa, con ngựa đứt cương, ba vương ngủ đêm, dắt chế đi tìm, ù à ù ốc. So if your finger were captured, you will lose. Okay, so now I will compare the song of this game from the 2 countries. The first is the meaning game of Ching Chi Repeat.
The thing to repeat is related to the life lessons. For example, the first sentence, Ching Chiripit Tulang Paching Kachapit, means in our journey through life, we must exercise cautions in all our actions and avoid being tapped by poverty or lack of knowledge. And the second sentence, Kachapit Kubulu Pare Bulu Pare Susu Kunat. I'm sorry, maybe I read wrongly. This sentence conveys the message that what we sow or cultivate will bear fruit. So we must be mindful of what we plant or ensure it being positive income. And finally, Cho Padalang Mawa Wayang Chek Nong. It reminds us to be grateful of everything, happiness or even death, because everything in this world already predestinated by God. So this game teaches us to be humble and seize the opportunity that arrive in our life. Wireless. The meaning of the song Chi Chi Chan Chan in Vietnam is related to the historical events. And of course, there are many versions in Indonesia and in Vietnam. There are various versions of this song. So in Vietnam, I also take two versions, the popular version and the original version. The first one is Chi Chi Chan Chan. Chi Chi Chan Chan is a regional sentence used in central Vietnam to mark the beginning of an important announcement. Cái đanh nổi lửa represent for the first gunshot fired by the French in Sơn Trà Peninsula, Đà Nẵng. And this event marked the beginning of French colonization in Vietnam. Con ngựa mất cương means the whole reign is broken. It represents for Vietnam's situation after the death of King Tự Đức in 1883. This means that Vietnam's situation at that time, like the whole reign is broken. Ba vương ngũ đế, it means that three kings took turn to lead the kingdom. So less a year of King Tự Đức death, King Hiệp Hòa, King Kiến Phúc, and King Hàm Nghi took turn to lead the kingdom. Bắt dế đi tìm means hurrying to search. Did arrest the searching for Tôn Thất Thuyết. He is the leading Mandarin of Emperor Tự Đức, Vietnam, Nguyễn Dynasty, who attacked Kham Sứ Palace but he failed and fled to King Hàm Nghi. So the French hurriedly began a search for him to ease Vietnamese anger. Ù à ù ập, or the original version is Hú tim ù ập. It means surprisingly caught. Did arrest to betrayal of Trương Quang Ngọc and some other people who travel with King Hàm Nghi, and they leaked that Hàm Nghi's location. And at the midnight, the king was arrested by the French in his shelter while sleeping. Okay, so you can see in the game Chi Chi Chan Chan and Ching Chi Pit, the rule games and quite similar, but the meaning of the song is different. But it has a positive meaning. So now I will talk about the advantage of playing this game. The first one is memory and learning. So to play this game, we have to remember the lyrics and sequences of movement in the game, exercise children's memory and cognitive ability. And this game is a part of Vietnam and Indonesian cultural heritage. So playing this game have preserved and passed down traditional elements to the younger generation. The game can be adapted and customized with variations in lyrics and movements, encourage children to be creative and come up with their own version. And finally, in physical activity, these games involve rhythmic movement and action, so it encourages players to physical active and promoting coordination. So lastly, I will talk about the game Go Back So Board, or in Vietnam we call it chơi keo. This game is predicted to have the origin from the England with the name Go Back Through the Door. So the Go Back So Board was supposed to be brought by the Dutch when they invaded Indonesia. And the game chơi keo, until now I can't find any book or material writing about these games in this. I can see any book or material writing about its origin. But the game setup and equipment of this traditional game from the two countries is quite similar. To play this game, we need a wide and flat arena and a yard or a track to roll a board. The number of players is 6 or more than 6 people, and the players are divided into 2 teams, 3 to 5 persons each team, and one team will be the defending team, and the other is attacking team. So to play this game, we use a chalk to draw a board like this on the yard. And the defending team's goal is to block anyone from attacking team that want to reach the finish line. You can see in the picture. The red line is the area of the defending team. So they touch each other. Their goal is to block anyone from the attacking team that want to reach the finish line, where every member of attacking line must break through to the finish line and then back into the start line. So the attacking team consider one if one of the members can reach the finish line and then back to the start line again without being touched by any members of the defending team. And the 2 teams will be switched if one member of the attacking team is touched or out of the border field. So this is the advantage of Go Back So Board or chơi keo in Vietnam. Firstly, it will boosting the decision making and problem solving skills. This game boosts as the participants engage in strategic thinking and planning their move. Secondly, it will foster teamwork. This game is often played in a team, so it encourages cooperation among the players. Working together to achieve a common goal, strengthen teamwork skill. And third is developing leadership skills. So within the game, certain players may take on leadership role, make decisions for a team. So this provides an opportunity for children to develop leadership qualities and take responsibility. And the next is enhance honesty. The game promotes honesty and fair play among the participants, as players need to follow the rule and acknowledge their action. And finally, this game involves physical movement such as running, which contribute to improve physical health and fitness for the player. So in conclusion, the traditional game play important role in our life due to their numerous benefits. They not only provide entertainment, but also showcase the unique cultural and values of specific region and country. Therefore, it's very essential for us to work together to preserve the traditional games, because preserve traditional game means preserving the unique cultures and values of the regions or the nations they belong. And here are the references that I use for my presentation. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lon, for the presentation. So it's really interesting materials. From your presentation, I heard a lot about new things here, that the Indonesian and Vietnam had some similar games, and it influenced by many aspects. For example, in Indonesia, it influenced by the archipelago diversity, and then the affection from the Hindu Buddhist cultural and the Islamic influence and the colonial impact. So all those aspects are facing the interaction with several native culture and foreign culture. So it preserved until now. And in the other hand, the Vietnamese traditional games influenced by agricultural traditions, ancestral belief, Confucianism and Taoism, Buddhism, Chinese influence, and French colonial influence. Okay, you stated before that the Indonesian and Vietnam has a comparison, and not all of them are originated from our countries, such as Congklak. The game is brought by the Arabian, right? And the ON Kuana is brought by the French, and Ciripit from West Java, and Chan both has song and rhyme and has its own meanings and represent each other culture. This is very interesting because Chan itself related to the historical events in Vietnam, such as marks as the beginning of important events. And I highlight one point there, that this is also the remembrance of the death of King Tuduk in 1883. Please correct me if I'm wrong. For the last games, the Go Back Sobor, brought by the Dutch, also has the advantage that I don't know before, that this is also sharpen the decision makings. And after I think about the game, when I play it as a child, yes, this is really sharpen the decision making and problem solving skills and the fostering the teamwork. Okay, Ms. Lan and the other participants, before we are continue to the Q&A events, we have the video about Sidowayah old culture. In Sidowayah, they are preserved the old culture in terms of traditional games, and the young people there popularize the games to the whole nation from time to time. Sidowayah itself located in Central Java and preserve the tradition until now. Even the other traditional culture in Indonesia are starting to fade. Yeah, this is the sad truth, that our traditional game are starting to fade because the young generation now are playing the online game, playing the game on their phone and their computer. So they are very little known about the traditional culture. Okay, here is the video of the Sidowayah old culture before we are transferring to the Q&A events. So please enjoy the video.
Amidst the frenzied modernity of society, old traditions are still being preserved. As in the form of traditional children's games, the culture that was born from the womb of communities' younger generations. With their creativity and ability to create new things, young people become the spearhead of society in popularizing traditional games from time to time. One is the birth of Dolanan Sidowayah village, located on the border of Klaten and Boyolali, Central Java. Various games were created to continue the story and rekindle the cultural fire that was starting to fade.
Untuk kampung dolanan itu sendiri, di sana disuguhkan mainan-mainan tempo dulu. Jadi kalau sekarang itu eranya era digital, yang setiap anak itu mesti memegang gadget. Nah sekarang untuk kampung dolanan itu kita menyuguhkan lain dengan adanya permainan-permainan tempo dulu. Adanya egrang, adanya dakon, adanya tarik tambang, adanya bakia, adanya permainan-permainan yang sifatnya tempo dulu, sehingga mereka tidak disibukkan oleh adanya gadget sampai sekarang.
Kampung Dolanan Sidowaya or Dolanan Sidowaya Village introduced traditional children's games as a form of early introductions to art, as well as education for types of games in every region in Indonesia. The ecosystem in Sidowaya was built to dig deeper and see more closely at traditional communities playing traditional cultural roles in their young generation.
Awalnya itu kan kita di bawah naungan pemerintah desa, di bawah naungan BUMDes. Jadi ada beberapa orang yang punya gagasan tentang tempat outbound, tetapi mengusung temanya itu yang tradisional, karena kan kebanyakan anak-anak sekarang itu kan pada awam ya tentang permainan tradisional kayak gitu. Terus kita kemas bagaimana outbound itu tidak hanya tentang outbound modern, tapi juga tentang permainan tradisional gitu. Makanya dinamakan Kampung Dolanan Sidowaya kayak gitu.
Sidowaya presents a wide variety of traditional children's games, ranging from games that rely on agility, strategy, to traditional games elaborated with singing.
Permainannya banyak sih yang tradisional, kayak misal ada bagia itu ada bagia kayu, bagia batok, terus ada gobak sodor, ada egrang, ada lompat tali, balap karung, tarik tambang, banyak. Pokoknya tradisional gitu, ada hampir semua di sini ada.
An interesting concept and professional workforces from the local community prove that culture can support local communities. This big idea started in 2016 and is now growing rapidly in the region.
Cobalah untuk mengenal permainan tradisional, maksudnya jangan hanya tentang gadget. Boleh, kita kan hidup di zaman digital sekarang ya, boleh mengikuti tapi juga harus seimbang. Jadi nggak melulu gadget terus, tapi juga permainan tradisional itu kalau dimainkan bareng-bareng itu ternyata seru gitu. Maknanya banyak, terus juga nggak jadi anak yang individual gitu loh. Jadi sosialnya kita itu secara tidak langsung itu terlatih gitu loh. Tidak hanya jadi anak yang cuma di rumah main gadget, tapi juga permainan tradisional itu kan mainnya di alam, di luar. Jadi biar wawasannya terbuka juga, salah satunya dengan permainan tradisional ini.
Starting from concern about the presence of technology that is increasingly shifting local culture and art, Kampung Dolanan Sidowaya was created to maintain Indonesian children's memories by being nostalgic for traditional games.
Okay, that's all about the video of Sidowaya, the traditional games village. The place is located in Central Java, and they are preserved the local culture of traditional games there. Okay, now back to the material from Miss Len. We expect you, the attendants, to ask question to Miss Len. Anything, you may ask anything, but probably you might focus to the traditional games. So Miss Len could give you insight about the traditional games and the other things close to it. Okay, we are waiting and expecting your question now. Don't take the rush. We are waiting. It's okay. Take your time. You might browse or Googling it. Oh, there is a raised hand from Brian Sahartian. Please state your question.
Okay, first of all, selamat sore, Miss Len, Ciao Ban. Good afternoon, everyone. What a splendid presentation from you, Miss Len. Thank you very much. This presentation is going to be the introduction for Indonesian or Vietnamese culture to the participant that are not from both country, and also a reminder for us that we have this traditional game that holds so many value for the next generation. So first of all, Miss Len, you said that this game was influenced by Confucianism, by Master Confuci, or the Latin name is Confucius, and also Taoism by Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. Okay. So the question is, how is the current generations of Vietnam beliefs? Do they still hold those traditional value or not? And the second question is, you said that Vietnam have influences from the colonial era, which is from France era of colonialization in Vietnam. So which value is more followed by the newer generation? Is it the French value or Confucianism or Taoism? Maybe that's all, Miss Lin. Thank you very much.
Okay, is your question is does Vietnamese have the influence of Confucianism and Taoism and colonial era?
Yes,
Okay.
Miss Lin. That's
Thank
the
you.
second question. The first question is the newer generation, the current generation of Vietnam, do they still hold the traditional value or they not? That's the first question. And the second question is which value is more followed by the newer generation, French or the traditional one?
Okay, can you repeat the second question?
Maybe I will drop by the chat box so you can read. You can answer the first question, maybe.
Okay, so currently in Vietnam in modern day, some children they still keep the traditional values, but most of them was is influenced by the maybe Japanese or Korean, especially Korean culture. So maybe the way they are wearing or the way they I don't know how to say it. I think that they still keep the traditional values, but it doesn't live before because there are adaptations and variations. So they will maybe I think they will more open because the wireless of the internet, so they will get more information from the Western, from the Korean, and they open mind. Their mind is open.
Okay, thank you very much for answering.
The second one is actually not the French. Even though French invaded in Vietnam for a long time, but now the values of French is not predominant. As I say, now Vietnamese is more open-minded, so they will influence by the Korean culture from the Japanese, from the Chinese culture is more than the French values and Western, maybe UK, US.
So to conclude, the newer generation of Vietnam is more open-minded.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much for answering my question.
Thank you for your question.
Yes.
Okay, there is one question from TechCrunch Nepal. Tekras asked about the Tekras read the southeastern game Wiki or Go game and its many related strategies employed by Vietnamese leaders during war. Would you please elaborate on the specific strategic aspect of your presented game? But Nguyen Chi Pong Len, yourself, you are explaining that Wei is originated from China, and in Vietnam don't usually play that game. Maybe could you elaborate it and give explanation to TechCrunch about this?
Actually, Weiqi is not a popular games in Vietnam, and taking myself for example, I never play the Weiqi games. So actually, I don't know what is the connection between the Weiqi and the strategy of in my country, because I think it's not a traditional games in Vietnam. I'm sorry.
Okay, so there is no traditional game in Vietnam. So here also the question that are there any traditional games which are originally Vietnam's? You already answered that there are no traditional game originated from Vietnam, right?
Okay, that's a interesting question, and this is the question that I also wanted to know, because when before I find the document, I read the material about the traditional games. I think some games belong to Vietnam, but when I find to know it's all from the foreigner, like Indonesia. Some games in Indonesia. Some people think that this game is from Indonesia, but not another nations, right? So from the traditional game originally from Vietnam, I think that the traditional game from the ritual practice. Maybe in some, I think ritual practice, they will some play a game to ask for blessing. Actually, in some, sorry. Because in Vietnam also there are various ethnic, and every ethnic also had its own culture and its own traditional games. So I think the games of that ethnic is more originally, and it's maybe I will show the picture.
Yes, please.
Where is it? Wait. Okay, so can you say this game? This is a competition cooking rice. And this is representing for agricultural practice. And people are wearing the traditional game in the northern Vietnam. Does it have in Indonesia?
About the cooking competition, I don't think as far as I know, there are no cooking competition. But if I may ask, what's the moral value of this cooking competition by using their traditional clothes also? As I could see there, could you please elaborate the moral value of this event? Hello, Miss Lan. Could you hear my voice? Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I recently stated that in Indonesia, there are no cooking competition as far as I know. But here is the unique in the Vietnam that you say that Vietnam has a cooking competition and wearing the traditional clothes there. What's the moral value of those setting? I mean, the cooking and the traditional clothing and etc. Could you please elaborate to us what the purpose of that cooking competition? Sorry, you're still in mute.
So you know in Vietnam is known as for agriculture traditions. So cooking or related to the farm planning harvest is represent for the agrarian society. Because you know Vietnam is very famous for the rice for the agrarian society, and this traditional game is represent for the agrarian society.
Is okay, so it's present the society, yeah, because the Vietnam is very well known about the rice and anything about it. Okay, there are statements from Diajeng here. Some games are similar, but when Vietnam and Indonesia are presented, as I know, Central and South Vietnam's kingdom was based on Hindu with Champa races, Malay or Indonesian races long time ago, so does not have any connection. The similar games are originated from Champa. Even Champa races spoke bahasa Melayu from Diajeng.
I think this is possible because you're right, because before the Sriwijaya kingdom, they used to come to Champa in Vietnam. So maybe there is a cultural exchange or assimilation between the two nations in the ancient times. Maybe, yeah, because I'm not sure about this. But I think maybe there is, because there are some book and material write about the Champa, and there is the connection between the Champa and Indonesia. So I think maybe there is some connection, even though I already tried to know more about the detail of the game, but actually there is no any records to write the origins of the games. Maybe because the game is, you know, the traditional game is transmitted orally, so they just orally, so they doesn't write in a written records. So it is maybe it's really hard for us to know the origins of the game. On the origins, most of them is just suppose, just you know, suppose you get my mean.
Suppose? What is that, suppose?
Hypothesis. Okay,
hypothesis. Okay. Okay, so the possibility is there, right? So it's not zero possibility, but there is possibility that the
Yes.
Champa and the other culture in Vietnam and Indonesia are related, right? Okay, very interesting answer, because we are you yourself or all of us here may be still studying about it, about the relation between the Vietnamese and Indonesian culture. Okay, we are still expecting another question from the participants. Maybe another question. We could still answer some, maybe one or two, before we are turn into the final events. Okay, Bu Eta, silakan, please, Bu Eta.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting presentation, very comprehensive, interesting, and also entertaining, Miss Len. I wonder whether you have been to Indonesia. Have you been to Indonesia before?
Yes, I have been there maybe 4 or 5 times, but I had a 1-year study at Undip at the Fakultas Ilmu Budaya.
I see, that's why I didn't meet you when you were here. So, but that's not my main question. So you have very great choices of games. So you have board games. So An Quan is a board game in Vietnam, right? And then you have, you choose a game that involves singing a song, and also physical activities, strategy with Choi Kao. So I wonder, how was the process of you in choosing those 3 games, Vietnamese games, to compare to Indonesian games? That's the first question. And because we know that there are so many traditional games. In Indonesia, we have so many Indonesian traditional games. In Vietnam, I believe there are also so many traditional games. So that's the first question. The second question, so you made great comparison between Indonesian traditional games and Vietnam traditional games. I wonder whether there are also similar games that you can compare in Vietnam. For example, in Indonesia, even as I said, congklak in Java is dakon, we call it dakon. And we have different, similar but sort of different, because the congklak that you explained has 7 holes, but there are also board that has only 5 holes, 5 pair, a pair of 5 holes. And also there are games that are similar but sort of different from one part of Indonesia to different part of Indonesia. So I wonder whether there are also similar cases in Vietnam where you have similar games but sort of different in different area in Vietnam. That second question, third question, if I may.
Can you repeat the second question? The first one?
Second question, yeah, the second question. In Indonesia, we have similar games that are different, slightly different from one area to different area. So for example, a game can be played differently in Central Java compared to when it is played in West Java, for example. So I wonder whether in Vietnam you also have traditional games that are different based on different regions. That's my second question. And the third question is related to, we know because of the modern era, children are now, they are always with their gadget. So traditional games are like fading away. So in Indonesia, traditional games are now part of lessons in physical education. So I wonder whether in Vietnam there are also efforts in preserving traditional games. So there are 3 questions. Thank you, Ms. Len.
Thank you for your questions. It's really interesting questions. So the first question, I think that maybe maybe one of you will ask me, because, well, the first one is I've seen many traditional games. There are many the same traditional game between Indonesia and Vietnam, of course, like angklak or lompat tali, or many games. But I see the similarity between many countries. But I think the congklak and Ô Ăn Quan in Vietnam, I see there is a similarity and there is differences, which is very interesting because it is different from the meaning, from the way to play. So that's why I want to pick the first one. And the second one is, actually, I also made the article when I want to compare 2 games, because there is a limited materials, and firstly I want to three games representing for three kinds of game. The first one is about the thinking about the mathematics. I mean is you have to thinking to give the strategy. And the second one is I want to find a games with the song. So I find out the game Ching Chi Repeat. And firstly, I want to find a games which representing for the physical exercise, So that's why I chose three games. And of course, there are many traditional games which is the same between Indonesia and Vietnam, and between another country as well. Actually, at first when I preparing for the material, I am pretty confused because I can't see, I don't know any the same between the traditional game. Maybe the song, the same song. Actually, I have wonder because the Ching Chi Repeat, the sound of Ching Chi Repeat is pronounced similar to Chi Chi Chan Chan, you see, but I can't find the material to show is there any similarity between the name. So I can tell you, I can show you the similarity of the name, but I think maybe there is the similarity between the sound pronoun the name. And the two question is there differences between the traditional game in each regions in Vietnam? And my answer is, of course, there are differences. Maybe the name is different or the game rules is different, but the nature of the game is still same. Like the game Chi Chi Chan Chan, as I say, there are many versions of the song, but the game rule is still the same. And the third question is, yes, because now in Vietnam, to preserving the traditional games, the government also maybe they will in free time, I think làm waktu istirahat, you see, in the school, school will organize some traditional game for students in order that they can continue to preserving the traditional games. If I'm not wrong, in 2013, if I'm not wrong, the traditional game is taken to the curriculum in the primary school in order that children in the primary school can know the traditional game.
Interesting. So it seems that we have similar concern about the fading away of traditional games, so that we, both Indonesia and Vietnam government, they try to make traditional game into the curriculum of elementary school. Yeah. So thank you for your answers, Ms. Lin.
Okay, thank you, Bu Eta and Ms. Lin. Very interesting discussion. We get one more new knowledge now, and we have still three questions here. Maybe we could answer one by one. From Mr. Agus Subianto, that you said that there is no traditional game in Vietnam, but you have traditional ceremonies originally from Vietnam. Could you mention the traditional ceremonies?
Could I ask more question related to my?
Yes, please.
All right. Okay. Yeah. First of all, I appreciate your presentation. It was very interesting, Ms. Lin. I was a bit surprised when you told us that there is no traditional game originally from Vietnam. You mentioned that traditional games are not originally from Vietnam, but I see that Vietnam also has a lot of traditional ceremonies. So I would like to know whether there are some traditional ceremonies which are originally from Vietnam, And then the second question is related to how people interact with each other related to, for example, gambling activities. For example, like what do you call that? Chicken fight or something like, blood sport. Yeah, that also triggers people to play games or something like this. Because the concept of games, which are traditional or not, are usually related to children games. But what I would like to know whether you also have like traditional games are played by adults, for example. Okay, and that's my question. Thank you very much.
Maybe I did have a bit taken in sharing when I say that there is no traditional game in Vietnam. Of course, there is traditional game in Vietnam, but most of them from the ethnic nation in Vietnam. Like this game, maybe I will show you the game rather than I just speak, right? I will show you the picture, and then you will. Okay. I know some traditional game, but I wonder whether is okay. How to say? Sorry for waiting me.
Yes, please take your time.
This is the game name cone. So they will use the ball like this to the row in the bamboo. So the meaning of this game is popular in the northern Vietnam, from the ethnic nation like Mường or Thái. And the meaning of this game is the blessing. They wish for blessing from the best blessing, get more blessing, and they want to. And this is also the opportunity for the man and the girl to meet, and they can have a date on this occasion. And but to the Mường ethnic nation in Vietnam, this game mean they want to pray for the raining. And to the tiny ethnic in Vietnam, this game is representing for the children, the child. Mr. Agus.
Yeah, Pak Agus, Mr. Agus, are you pleased with the answer from Miss Len?
And of course, there are many traditional games, but I can't mention all of them here, right?
Yeah. There is so many traditional games in Vietnam. You couldn't mention here all because there are a lot to present if you have to present it one by one, right? Okay. Thank you for the answer, Ms. Lun. Okay. Maybe from the other participant. Yesterday we have active participant, and we would like the three of you to maybe share opinion or asking question. There are Paramita from Vietnam, hello, and Citra from India, and Pavel from Russia. We would like to hear your voice again. Yesterday you were very active in the discussion. Perhaps you might ask some question again today, please, before I move forward to another two last question.
Any other questions? Because in the process of doing the materials, I see a traditional game in Vietnam have the same names of Indonesia, but the way to play is different. But in the beginning of this Zoom, this meeting, I see your video show that traditional game. So could you show me the name of that game? I will show you the picture. Because this is an interesting game.
Yes, please. So, please, the other participant maybe could try to answer. You might googling it. Is it fair, Miss Len?
Yes, this game.
Okay.
I saw it at the beginning of the Zoom of the meeting.
The dragon head, maybe? No? Is it wrong? I don't know.
What does it mean? What does it mean? What the name?
I never played this game before. Seriously, maybe anyone here?
In Vietnam, it's called rồng rắn lên mây. It means rồng rắn, naga ular.
Ular naga, the dragon. Okay.
Yes, it's same the name, right? But the way the game rule is different. So I consider where is it there's a traditional. I consider is it there similarity between the two games. So I just want to ask on you. Can you show me? Can you kindly to let me know is there any this game in Indonesia?
Yes, there is similar game like this, but maybe the how we play here in Indonesia a little bit different from the picture. In Indonesia, that maybe 4 or 5 children will cross the loop and make the shape of the dragon, but they are crossing the loop, and if one of them are lucky, they are being catched by the loop itself. And I don't know what will happen next. I never played this game before, but I have seen it when I was child.
What the name game? What the name of that game?
The name is Ular Naga, the dragon in English.
Oh, Ular Naga is different. I know it. Ular Naga panjangnya. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. We have maybe these two last question before we end the session. Two last question was coming from our lecturer, Ibu Ken. Ibu Ken trying to ask you about the category of the traditional game in Vietnam, about what's the children game, physical games, strategy games with tools. Maybe you could name it one in every number, and how the development, and is it finished or it still exists in Vietnam?
Ibu Ken, right?
Yes, Ibu Ken.
Ken, Ibu dulu pernah ngajar saya kalau nggak salah. Saya pernah ke rumah Ibu juga, kalau tidak salah ya. Saya
So you are her student. Ibu can please say hello to Miss Len.
Are you remember me?
I can see your voice. Wait, before your hair is soft, right? Your hair is softer, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, okay, yes, that's right. Itu rambutnya pendek.
Yeah, maybe you could answer Miss Ken question about the category of its number. Maybe one example for its number.
Very amazing. I did traditional. And yes, of course, in Vietnam, they also the traditional game also categorized by as you written traditional children's game, physical game, strategy games, and game with tune. And how the development of traditional game in Vietnam, how development, as I know, as I mentioned, now traditional game in Vietnam is the government use traditional game in the curriculum in the primary school, so that the children can study, can know how to play the traditional game since they at the primary school. Is that your question?
Yeah, Bukan, is it enough from Miss Len, the answer? Okay, it's enough from the answer. Okay, the last question, Miss Len, from Sazia Aslam, from Pakistan. Which skill we can learn in this traditional game? Maybe it means that the traditional game you mentioned in your material.
Yes, as I already mentioned in the PowerPoint, the first one, the chocolate. Maybe we can learn about the critical thinking, the problem solving, and know how to count and mathematics skill. And the second games is Chi Chi Chan Chan. The skill we learn from this game is memory and learning. We can learn in the historical event through the song. And this is very, very popular in Vietnam. I think most of the children will know this game. Especially the baby really, really interesting in this game. The Ching Chi Repeat or the Chi Chi Chan Chan. And finally, and the last one is Go Back So Board or Keo. This game is we can gain the maybe the honesty, the strategy, the leadership skills. Yes, that's all my answer.
Okay, that's the answer from Miss Len, Sazia Aslam. I hope you're pleased with the answer. And if maybe you have the further question, you may state it in the WhatsApp group. Maybe we could continue with further discussion. Okay, before we end the event, all the participants and Miss Len yourself, you might join our quiz. We have 6 simple questions. You might Googling it or anything, but we only has 5 minutes to answer it. And the quiz is coming from our MC, Ilham. Ilham, please, could you elaborate your quiz?
Okay, everyone. Very interesting discussion about Vietnam and Indonesian traditional games. It really gives us a lot of insight. And before we start our quiz, let me ask you to open your camera for documentation session. Please open your camera because this is related to your attendance today. Please, everyone, open your camera. Nisha. There's Zahra from Vietnam. Please open your camera. Ken Joshua. Indrani from India. Please open your camera. Christian. Jenny. Jelly. please open your camera. We are going to start our documentation session. Okay? Don't forget to smile. 1, 2, 3. Slide number 2. 1, 2, 3. The third one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And I'm going to give you the link about the quiz. We are going to play some quizzes, and here you are given some statements. You have to choose whether it is true or false. True or false statement. You may Google it on Google or Safari or the browser you have, but you only given 5 minutes to answer, and the link I will give on the chat box right now. So you can start, and we are waiting for 5 minutes. It means it until 16:52. You can start the quiz right now by filling the Google form that I've already shared in the chat box. We already have 5 response. Two minutes. One minute. Okay, everyone, time is up. Okay, how many of you got the point 60? Who
Is there any prizes? Maybe ticket to Bali?
take
No?
it to Bali?
No prizes? Ticket to Bali? No?
Okay, we are discussing later.
Ah, I regret joining this quiz.
Okay, is there anyone get 60 points? Oh, most of you get 40. Yeah, it's good. So maybe we are going to discuss some question about this quiz. We are going to discuss true or false. Please let me. Wait. Okay, the first one, petak umpet, is the other name for hide and seek. 26 participants true answer this question. So maybe each country has another name for hide and seek. Here in Indonesia, in Java especially, we call it as petak umpet. From Vietnam, maybe Miss Ling, could you please tell me? Yeah,
Trốn tìm.
don't tin.
Trốn tìm is the meaning is exactly the name hide and seek. Hide means trốn and seek mean tìm.
Okay. Okay, and the next question is Satolia or Lagori is a traditional game from Thailand. It is false because the Satolia or Lagori is come from India. Maybe Chitra, our participant from India, could you please share to us about this game? Chitra, are you with us? Okay. Or maybe some Indian participant want to explain? Okay. Due to the limited time, and then we are jump to the last question. Gundul-gundul pacul is a traditional game from Indonesia. It is so many people answered as true. Actually, it false because it is Indonesia traditional song. It's not a game. Okay, that's for today's quiz. And I would like to remind you to fill your attendance link. We are going to give you attendance link for today. Please fill the attendance. And I'm going to remind you that you have to task for all the participants that you have to make a video, a reaction video or testimonial about this summer course event, and with a maximum 1 minute duration, and the video then submit the video into Google Drive, and you can share it, the link of the video in Google Drive to our WhatsApp group. And the second task is on the last day of this summer course, every participant has to present a traditional games or culture from their or country. So prepare your presentation as well. And don't forget to fill the attendance link. We've already shared it in chat box. And tomorrow we are going to discuss and learn about traditional games in Tembang. Tembang is a term to describe maybe Javanese song. And tomorrow we have Ma'am Yani for the speaker, and we will see you tomorrow. And have a nice day. And our event today is finished. Thank you. See you, everyone.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Miss
Thank
Lan,
you.
and the other participant. Thank you for an interesting day. Have a nice day, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. See you tomorrow then.
See
Thank you,
you.
Miss Lin.
Alhamdulillah.